All right, here we are live and in person
Yay.
for our last Facebook Live of the year for 2025. So we switched this year to quarterly Wellbeing Wednesday. Um, and I'm super excited to have our guest on today. So I'm Jamie Ward with Be Well, Care Well and Curricula Concepts. And many of you have joined us over the years. We used to do these monthly and switched to quarterly, and also have a replay on our YouTube channel. And you're not going to want to miss this, and your friends are not going to want to miss this. So I want you to know where that is. We'll share that at the end so that you can share it with all the people you know. So let's jump right in. We only have 30 minutes. Our conversation today is going to be around reflection and renewal. And Heather and I, we actually go way back, Heather. I was thinking last night, like we've known each other since college,
Mm,
and then sort of reconnected, I guess, through a devotional you wrote and a Bible study group I was in,
yep.
which was really wonderful. And now Heather's my wonderful counselor, and I appreciate her so much. And I know you all are going to just be so full when you leave this 30-minute conversation. So, Heather, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. And I'm really excited to be here. And my name is Heather Harrison, and I live here in Conway, Arkansas. I'm a counselor. I'm in year 3 of being a counselor, and I love it. I love it so much. I didn't go back into grad school until my 40s. So I always tell people, jump in if you're wanting to do something like that.
Yeah.
You're not too old. I'm married to my husband, Michael. We've been married almost 30 years, and we have 3 adult sons, and they all live in our town. And we just really are enjoying this season of life, watching them become adults um, and establish their own lives. So it's been really fun. And I love doing things like this where I get to share more of what I'm learning, what I'm watching other people learn in my office. And, in counseling, I don't do a ton of talking and teaching. So anytime I get to share more, then I'm all in. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And having been a participant in one of your, I don't know what we call them training sessions. I don't know if that's, I don't know what you call them. It's been a couple years ago, but it was excellent. So I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear what you bring today to the group. So I do want to remind everybody who's watching live that Haley is in the comments. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them there, and Haley will respond or make sure that we see the questions if there's any specific for Heather. So let's jump right in and talk about reflection and renewal and kind of what that means. I've shared with you that most of our viewers are probably going to be early educators
Mhm.
or parents of young families. So that's kind of who we're talking to. But let's just start with reflection
Yeah.
and kind of what that means. I know here the last month of the year, a lot of people are already jumping ahead to thinking about intentions for next year. But can you just share your thoughts around just the importance of reflection and thinking about what's happened before you think about what's next?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about that because our society, our culture is not really set up to do that a lot. We are so fast paced and um, just have so many things on our calendar, our to do list, that unless we take time to reflect, we will just keep moving forward at a pace that is not sustainable. Um, I think reflection is important because it helps us course correct. There's a quote, and I always mean to look it up and I always forget, but talking about a man who climbed the ladder and realized at the end of his life the ladder was against the wrong wall. And man, if
Mm.
we don't slow down enough to reflect, we will also realize we are leaning our whole life and effort against the wrong wall, metaphorically, of course. um,
Yeah, yeah.
so reflection is important. I think it's good to look back. Some of the questions I ask in reflection are, what do I still need to grieve from this past year? What do I need to celebrate? What do I need to ask in prayer or ask the people around me who support me? What do I need? How do I want to adjust, and what do I want to continue? What did I learn or do or find out this past year that I want to take with me into the next year? And man, those can be pages of answers. Each question can be. And so I have seen the importance of it in my own life. And I bet most of you have too in different seasons.
Yeah.
So reflection is really important.
Oh, I love those questions. I hope somebody on my team is capturing those, writing those down. Those are so good. So
Mhm.
good. So
Yeah.
when we start to think about what the next year, which I mean, I don't know why, we always wait till January 1st to think about reflecting and renewal and setting goals and all those things, but that's what we do in our society, I guess. So with that in mind, just what does renewal really mean to you? What's it mean in the midst of where our folks find themselves? So in classrooms with littles or in homes with littles trying to move through this season.
Yeah, I looked up the word renewal when I knew that was our kind of heading for today, and got a bunch of different definitions. But one of them just says to make new again, which we probably could have come up with that without Googling, but also refresh and restore, or even transformation. And so renewal, I think, is important for us and essential to think about starting the new year with renewal, looking at the hard things of life and wondering how we can be restored and refreshed to go back in after the holiday season.
Yeah.
Um, that's really important. And once again, it just won't happen unless we intentionally make the time for that.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Mhm.
good. So when we, all of our Wellbeing Wednesdays are really focused and built sort of on our foundation of our Be Well, Care Well model. And so we think about the all 8 dimensions of wellness and sort
Mhm.
of what makes us whole. And what today we really wanted to think about sort of the spiritual and emotional dimensions as we frame these two topics.
Mhm.
Um, Also knowing that our early educators and families of young children are so busy and setting aside any amount of time is really hard, although it's important to do that.
Mhm.
But are there any ways that those groups could integrate simple spiritual or emotional check-ins like into their busy day without having to, like you got to find 30 minutes, you got to find an hour, whatever it is?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. And the first thing I want to say about that is that we can't rest our whole spiritual, emotional, relational health on short spurts. I see a lot of people doing that, and that's just not enough. It's shallow. So if we think of simple, quick check-ins, those are really important too. But there has to be something underneath that. So if I'm going to give 30 seconds twice a week to something, then it's not really going to sustain me.
Yeah, for
As
sure.
long as that simple check-in is really a check-in with something that goes much deeper, I think that's important. Some of the things that come to mind, though, when I hear of a simple check-in, I think of relationally, in our jobs, whether you're an educator or wherever you work, knowing who we work with and caring about them and knowing that they care for us is really important. And so sometimes just a relational check-in with someone that's in the room next to you or in your classroom can really give you that strength and support.
Hmm.
Even their words. One time, my husband and I love the story because it really did happen, and it's such a good picture of how important our words are. Um, I was at the gym lifting weights, struggling. I was on the last rep or two. I don't remember, but my husband came over and he didn't grab the weight. All he said was, "You've got this." And so then I somehow had the strength to finish. And I remember after writing this down and thinking, how did his words that came out of his mouth into my ears, and somehow that gave me strength. Um, and man, our words to each other can really do that when we are in the thick of it. So our
Yeah.
words, our relationships, and also I think knowing why we do the job we do and revisiting that, knowing that even if it's a hard day, remembering, oh yeah, I know why I do this, and knowing why can give me strength. So that's another one. Um, Relationships, community, words to each other, remembering what's true also for your own internal world, remembering and focusing on what's true and not focusing on the discouraging lies that most of us play in our minds over and over. Um,
Yeah.
and practicing that. We have to practice that to make that more of a default, because unfortunately, most of us, our default is um, really critical words towards ourselves. And so learning how to focus on, and if we're going to ruminate, really ruminate on what's true and not on other things.
Oh, that's a mic drop right there. It really is. I was reading something or listening to a podcast or something recently that talked about um, saying things out loud so that our brain will hear what we're like positive things
Mhm.
out loud, that it's kind of to the point that you're making,
Yeah.
the things that are true.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we have to do that. And
Sometimes that's hard to do.
yeah, the image in my mind is when there's like a field that's just high, the grass is high, but maybe it's a beautiful field, but there's no pathways. If I wanted to make a path from one place to another, I wouldn't just go once. I would have to go over and over and over, unless I had like a weed eater, of course, but
Yeah.
walk over and over and over to make the path. And when we talk about practicing what you just shared about saying it out loud or remembering, we are literally making pathways in our brain so that the default can be different than what it's been before. But it has to be over and over and over to make a new path.
Yeah.
And it's science, but it's also, I mean, we know this. We just sometimes get out of the habit of practice.
Well, and I mean, we know this as early educators too, because it's what we talk about, when we refer to young children. That's how they learn, through repetition, doing something over and over and over. Um, they don't just catch on after one try, two tries,
Mhm.
even three tries, four tries, five tries, right?
Yeah.
It takes many, many repetitions. So yeah, thinking about that and how it relates to the way we talk to ourselves
Mhm. Yeah, it's important.
is a good way to think about it. I want to remind everybody, the folks that are on, put your questions in the chat if you have any. We'd love to have some for Heather, but I'll keep going until they do.
Okay.
So far, I'm seeing a lot of like, oh my gosh, this is good. This is good.
No, good.
So yeah. When we think about both emotional and the spiritual dimensions of wellness, many of us, maybe, most of our field's made up of women too. Like I would say 98% of women, maybe even higher, maybe 99%. I know there's a few males out there, but many of us feel things like guilt, exhaustion, comparison, which I think probably is more likely in women. I don't know. That might not be true at all. But what are some common emotional blocks that you see in the people you talk to and work with, and how do you invite them renewal through them?
Mhm. So I could give a really long answer here because I see a lot of emotional blocks. The ones that come to mind, like just quick come to mind, are um, being unwilling to go deeper emotionally into the internal world. And so they're wanting to practice the positive phrases and beliefs, but they don't really believe it. And so there's a disconnect. And I think people are afraid of, if I go there, if I go back to that thing I never grieved, or if I go to this pain, it'll be a pit I'll climb in and never get out of. And that's just not true. It keeps popping up because it's saying, hey, pay attention to me. And so that's one thing. So it's almost like sometimes I've seen people block their own emotional growth because they just are resistant to that. And that's understandable. And then in my office at least, then we talk about, okay, well, let's just talk about resistance and what's that about. Other things that come to mind are, especially for women, expecting perfection and thinking that perfection is the goal. And I am a big proponent of not just imperfection, but that there is beauty in being human. And whether it's friendship, whether it's your house or your job, your career, your performance, that we are human and we're going to show up as human. And that's not just okay, that's actually beautiful. Sometimes women are shocked to hear that the things that they might see that they don't like about themselves are actually beautiful things. And it's actually things that endear people to them. And I don't know about all of you listening, but for me, if I'm with someone who is very perfect, it's so intimidating that I'll kind of back off from that friendship. I tend to be drawn to people who are really normal and real and human, and so expecting perfection is one of the biggest ones that I see. And with that comes guilt because I fall short, comparison because they're better than me. We're looking all around, and really we've not seen the gift that we are to the world as people, as women and men. Yeah.
Katie just said in the comments that she loves that beauty in just being human.
Mm-hmm.
Two things you made me think of when you were talking. The first thing, I've always kind of said, I don't really want to go back through any messy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just kind of keep that pushed down and just move on. Like, can't we just move on?
Yeah.
And why? Because I've always sort of thought, well, if you just keep bringing it up and keep bringing it up, then doesn't it just live on forever? So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
That idea that it is possible, even if you have to bring it up and sit in it for a while, that you can then get past it. It doesn't mean it has to live forever. So that's helpful to me. And then the perfectionism piece, it made me think about, I love to have people at my house, but my house is really small and it's not perfect, right? And so sometimes I'll hesitate before I'll think, I'd love to have people over, but no, the house is too small, not enough places to sit. But then the minute, like, when you do actually go through with it and you do invite the people in, you're like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Right.
Just bring out whatever mismatched chair you have, you just care about being in the same place together.
Yeah. I
But
think
that's one that always pops up for me.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love that. I love having people over too, and man, I have a long history of years where I didn't think it was okay because of things in my house, and man, once I was free from that feeling, the amount of relationships built inside the walls of my house with people that we invited in, it made me sad that I had missed out on that for so long because we were in the middle of a remodel or something. And so I've even told sometimes people who really struggle with perfectionism, have people over and on purpose leave a basket of laundry just somewhere in the room and practice not apologizing and just see what happens. Probably they will think, wow, I can be myself here. I don't have to
Yeah, that's
clean up
good.
myself and be perfect. I can just, she feels like we're close enough that she leaves her laundry out when I'm here.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a minute about the classroom or family environment, and how our state of emotional, spiritual well-being impacts the children or the people that are around us. I think we probably know the answer to that, but would love your professional take on that.
Two big things I think about with that question are our spiritual depth, our relationship with God can be a source of strength whenever we are in really any situation, but especially I'm thinking about some of your educators that might be listening, who really need minute by minute strength to get through
Mhm.
what they're called to do. And they believe they are called to do it, and they know their why, and yet they still need strength. And that can be a source of support and strength for us. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And the second thing is when we are emotionally regulated, when we are spiritually healthy and flourishing, then the people we're with, especially the children that we teach or coworkers or family, they can, in a sense, borrow our nervous system. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this before. In counseling, we call it co-regulation. And so when I am with someone else, they can borrow my nervous system to calm themselves. And anyone that's a teacher has probably seen this happen. It's not like it
Yeah.
always, if I'm calm, they'll calm down. That doesn't always happen. But a lot of the time, if I keep myself at a regulated place, the people around me will probably come to that too. And so, one, it's a source of strength and actually lets us continue our job. And two, they benefit when we are regulated. And that's in parenting also. We can't rise to the level that our kids get to. Otherwise, it's a storm.
Yeah.
And so,
well, we always say, like, you can't bring chaos to chaos.
mhm,
That doesn't, you're not going to get anywhere. Or you can't, also can't try to, teach the child something who's in the middle of a
Mhm.
tantrum or a meltdown.
Yeah,
So all good stuff. I mean, and I feel like it's all like it's stuff and then sometimes it's really hard to practice
mhm.
when you're in the moment.
Yeah,
So,
which
hey,
is those questions of reflection, slowing down long enough to even think about what we're doing and look back and look forward intentionally. That's why that matters, because we can be in a regulated space for our sake and for the people around us.
yeah.
Mhm.
So Haley asked in the chat, she said she's still trying to work on keeping a positive mindset to not let negative worrying thoughts creep in. She does well sometimes, and other times she struggles. Any tip to not let the worry creep in?
Mm. So a few things come to mind. One is, and this is a really simple thing that you could do on a lunch break or right before bed or sometime, is I have a piece of paper in my journal, and every journal I have, and it says what not to worry about, and I just make a list. And sometimes getting it out of my brain and onto a piece of paper, it actually helps me not keep it in my mind. So writing it down. The other thing is, if it's a worry that keeps coming up, it might not be the best strategy to try to push it down and ignore it. It might be something you really need to look at. I think that with emotions too, that we try to stuff things when really we could learn from them, and we could maybe be led into some deeper healing if we looked at, okay, let's say, we're worrying about our kids or something. I'm worried about one of my sons. Well, if I really slow down long enough, I could see, I still think I'm in control of his life, and he's an adult and I'm not. I think that his performance is, and his success reflects on me as his mom. I think I say this a lot, that his life is not my report card as a parent, but I still believe that it is sometimes.
That's good.
Yeah. And so our worries can really show us, okay, where am I in error in the way that I believe or think about life? What do I need to take to the Lord in prayer? If we never had a worry, it would probably be difficult to know even what to pray about. And so sometimes those worries can really drive you to dependence on Him and dependence on your people, in a way that you might not have without the worry. So I wouldn't say worry is the enemy. I would say it needs to be led, and not let worry lead you.
That's good. One of our people, when you said that I can't remember exactly how you said it, but the report card, it's not your report card. One of our people said, it's not. LOL, of course. Okay, so we only have a few more minutes. I told you this was going to go very, very fast.
Yeah.
I want to get to this last little thing, and then I definitely want you to share how people can find you. I know Haley's going to put your website in the chat, so everybody who's listening now, watching the replay, we'll share all that information. But Is there one small sustainable habit you'd recommend for spiritual and emotional renewal? And I do love that you drew attention at the very beginning to these small check-ins are great if they are layered on top of something more
Mm,
foundational. I'm glad you
mhm,
brought that out, but
mhm,
something we could commit to now, and how can we sustain it so it's not just like one more thing?
mhm. Yeah. And I love how you said that it's layered on top of something that's more foundational. I like the way you worded that. So I think the small sustainable habits, one can be what you do with your thoughts. When my thought goes one direction, am I going to follow it or am I going to lead it? So that's a kind of a phrase to think of.
Oh,
Am
that's
I
good.
following this thought or am I leading this thought? Um, Another thing, and I know you said one, but I'm thinking people
Oh,
can
go
pick
ahead.
one of these.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, Another thing is checking in with each other and maybe even having code words of like, I won't make those up right now, but code words for a check-in. How are you doing with the people you're working with? Another thing that, as far as a sustainable habit that I have um, found to be life-changing is starting my day in a quiet, slow, maybe sometimes just a few minutes, maybe sometimes it's an hour. It depends on the season of life. But starting my day with intentional quiet. For me as a believer, that means I'm praying and reading scripture, but it can be beneficial for anyone to start intentionally in a calm place, in a regulated place. One of the I don't know who said this. I think an old pastor told me this a long time ago. He said that discipline leads to desire and desire leads to delight. And so when we think about sitting in quiet each morning or sometime during the day, sometimes it's going to feel like a discipline at first. And it may not be something you long for, but you're going to discipline and yourself and do that. And that happens with exercise too. You know, I'm going to discipline myself first. Eventually, I'm going to desire it. And then ultimately, it's going to be a delight to me. And that that seems to be an equation that happens a lot in life, that ultimately we want to get to where we delight to sit in the quiet and think our thoughts and pray and lead our day and not just let the day start spinning us in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good, 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 good tips. We need to have those all written out, bullet pointed. I'm gonna go back through this,
Yeah.
and we just need to make some notes to share. So you've, like I knew you would, shared some really, really great things for our listeners. Um, so tell folks how they can find you. I know we've put your website in the chat, but where else are you?
Yeah. Yeah. So on my website, there's a tab, I think, on almost every page of how to contact me. And then I like to write a lot. So I am on Facebook just under my name, Instagram. I have a counseling Instagram in addition to my regular one. And it's also Heather Harrison Counseling. And that's really it. Yeah.
And you're a published author.
Yeah.
So folks can find books written by you, which is really exciting and wonderful.
Yeah, I have a Bible study on Colossians that's published, and then a study on Lent that is published. And then I like variety. So I have a lot of things written that are waiting for me to publish them. So more to come, maybe, if I can ever finish them and get it out. So
Love it. Well, thank you so, so much for joining us. I mean,
you.
we really loved having you. Can't wait to put this out on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who was able to join us live. If you're watching the replay and want to reach out, please do. We can connect you with Heather that way. Um, and we wish you well. We'll see everyone after the first of the year. Thanks for joining.
All right. Bye-bye.